but we got a big stock watch like the Wolf alluded to, huge training room, and this is, probably more important than ever. Not that it's not always super important, but these are big. We got some big names on it. AJ Green, Leonard Fournette. We got the Ravens running backs, which we alluded to a couple weeks ago, have got a really favorable schedule, but all of a sudden everybody seems to be banged up. Speaking of banged up, the Colts, the Panthers wide receivers are going to be an interesting talk. Mitch Trubisky, Kerryon Johnson. Those are all significant names, maybe, leading into week 13. We're going to start with AJ Green himself. He of the perennially injured toes. He participated in Wednesday morning's walkthrough, said he's, quote unquote, back to play this week against the Broncos. Are you buying it, Wolf? Is this a scarecrow situation right here?
I was going to say the first thing you got to be nervous about is decoy scarecrow status, AJ Green. Although at this point of the season, with Andy Dalton on the IR, with Green banged up and missing 3 straight weeks, would the team really just trot him out to be a decoy? The season's lost. They're not going to be making the playoffs at this point. Why throw him out there if there's any huge risk, or just to have him just distract defenses? So I'm actually buying it. I think AJ Green, if he's going to be out there, should be close to where he's going to be the AJ Green that we all expect. It's a tough matchup against the Broncos, even tougher when you got Jeff Driscoll, some creature, throwing you the rock. But ultimately, it's AJ Green. You have to have some really good options to be benching him. If we get notes that he's really significantly below 100 or things like that, then obviously I'll adjust in the rankings. But for now, I consider him an upside wide receiver too. My decision before was Marquez Valdez-Scantling's fucking awful ass, or John Brown. I'm not going with any of those guys over AJ Green by any means. So you roll him out if you have him, even if it's Jeff Driscoll, even if it's a tough matchup for the Broncos. I'm still going to play him, because otherwise, why would he be out there? That's kind of how I view it.
I don't know why he's out there, period. I mean, the Bengals are a disaster. I would almost be looking for an excuse to just not to play the guy anymore. They're terrible. I mean, them and the Cardinals, man, maybe like the 2 worst teams in the NFL right now. So we'll see. I wouldn't even put the guy out on the field. Leonard Fournette, speaking of a guy that's really screwing some people over here, my buddy Willie is actually in a play-in game. He's 6-6, playing against another guy 6-6. Obviously, he's got to win to have a shot at the playoffs. Leonard Fournette is his stud running back, and the guy is going to be out for week 13. What a bitch. His appeal of his 1-game suspension denied. He's out for week 13. Thoughts?
It's brutal. I mean, you just finally got acclimated to getting your first round running back 1 workhorse, averaging the 4th most touches in the league when he's active. So he's been a beast. He's been a true, what you would expect, but only for 5 games. Then he goes, and if you saw the play, he was on like a knee with his helmet off on the other end of the sideline. Wasn't even in the game when this shit happened. So he decided to sprint across the field to get involved in this fucking stupid scrum. And now he's going to cost himself a game. He burned you with his hamstring. Now he's going to burn you with this this is even worse. He's burning with a stupid fucking decision to do this shit. Never mind the fact I would never. I thought it was crazy, by the way, when they're in the tunnel, like talking back and forth, those D linemen and Fournette. That would have been a battle for the ages, because I do think Fournette could fucking throw fists. Absolutely. He's a beast. He scares the shit out of me, and that other guy was a monster too. But regardless, it sucks for your buddy Willie. For anybody that owns this guy, he's just giving you 4 little teasing games. Now he's going to give you the blue balls when you need him the most. That is awful, and it sucks. What's the aftermath for you? Well, TJ Yeldon, he did get dropped in a lot of leagues, so check if he's out there. He probably already scooped up on this week's waiver wire if he was out there, but I think he's going to be the better play out of him or Carlos Hyde, considering they're likely to be in catch-up mode. They're starting Cody Kessler. I mean, that's just not a recipe for offensive success, but if he's going to do anything, it's going to be dink, dink, dink to TJ Yeldon while they catch up. Carlos Hyde's now up to 50% owned, but also dropped all over the place. Has a shot at some TDs, but again, it's
early. I mean,
exactly.
It's like when it's 0-0, 7-0, maybe Hyde goes in, but I don't see him doing anything in the second half.
No, and it's even in the first half, he's got Cody Kessler at quarterback, so it's like, are they really going to get in the red zone for him to pound one off? Maybe, but he'd be a much riskier start, in my opinion, than TJ Yeldon. He's definitely the preferred fantasy play.
You know how shitty you have to have played for them to be like, you know what, I think Cody Kessler gives us a better chance of winning.
Than Blake Bortles? I know.
Yeah,
that is fucking
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
the London guy. Unless they could just move to London, and then they would be undefeated.
This year. He lost in London this year.
Oh, man. He must have completely lost it all. Then. Yeah.
He's stripped of all his powers.
And you know why? Because Alan Hearns moved to Dallas. He needed his boy giving him an audience behind the potted plant. It's too bad.
Maybe we should get traded to Dallas.
Absolutely.
All right, Ravens running backs, and we've talked about these guys just about every week for some reason or other. I mean, there's been something worthwhile talking about them as a group, for probably a solid month here. As you know, they have a great schedule moving forward, but their guys have not stayed healthy. Of course, Alex Collins was kind of the go-to guy. Then Gus the Bus came in and kind of took over and enchanted everybody with his fantasy acumen. But here's the deal: Collins remained sidelined at Wednesday's practice. While even more surprisingly, the aforementioned Gus the Bus Edwards also did not practice due to an ankle injury. What do you think of that?
It's definitely surprising. He seemed fine all game, never really got pulled in the win over Oakland, was dominating and steamrolling to his 111 yards. So this just kind of comes out of left field, which is never really great. Maybe it's just a maintenance day because he did have a heavy workload. He's got two straight heavy workload type days. So maybe John Harbaugh is just kind of resting him, getting him primed up for another juicy matchup against Atlanta. So I imagine Gus Edwards will be out there. The fact that Collins is still sidelined makes me nervous for his prospects. Ideally, he does sit because that way you got Gus Edwards in just that clear featured role. But if somehow both of them sit out of nowhere, I mean, again, back-to-back 100-yard days for Gus Edwards, ready to get his third straight. If they both sit, then Ty Montgomery might become the main guy. That makes you a little nervous. He's not really a featured back. We saw the Packers try to experiment with him in that role. But as a one game, just kind of throwing in for 20 touches, he would be a beast against Atlanta. They give up so much receptions to running backs, and Montgomery only 9% owned. I think it's at least worth the speculative ad, especially if you got trash to cut. In the case that Edwards and Collins both sit, Montgomery would shoot up into my top 25, maybe even top 20 running backs for the week. So I think that's a guy you got to consider stashing right now with both these guys sidelined.
All right, the Colts are banged up as well. The guy I'm playing this week has T.Y. Hilton, so this actually makes me happy in a kind of sick way. T.Y. Hilton with a groin injury, Eric Ebron with the back, Marlon Mack with concussions, all did not practice Wednesday. We pretty much know Mack is out, right? What do you think about these three guys? These are all potential fantasy factors.
Absolutely. Marlon Mack, the one that's probably, like you mentioned, just a lock to almost be out. He's still in concussion protocol. I think he's the one that's clearly at risk for actually missing the game, in which case Jordan Wilkins, Nyheim Hines carry that load. I'd much rather look at Hines. We've seen him get it done, whereas Wilkins would be a desperation throw to see if he gets into the end zone. He's looked good in these last weeks, a few explosive runs, but I don't know if you can trust this guy in week 13. You have to be in pretty rough shape to be looking at Jordan Wilkins in your lineup. And then you get to Hilton and Ebron. My guess is it's just maintenance day for the clear-cut two top remaining targets in this offense. I think both of them will be out there. We've seen this before. Reich seems to kind of take it easy on his players early on in the week. I imagine by the end of the week we'll see both of these guys back at practice. And if they are, I think they're both must-starts. Jalen Ramsey, as we're going to cover in a little bit, is expected to sit this week. That defense is already trash anyways. They're not the Jaguars of old. They're crumbling in a locker room, and nobody's playing hard anymore for that team. So I think both of them would be very solid plays, especially Ebron with Doyle out now. Both great bets to score. I imagine they both play and this becomes nothing, but obviously something you need to track the rest of the week moving forward.
Mitchell Trubisky did not practice on Wednesday. What's Nagy saying about this? I mean, this is a big deal. Chase Daniel, are we about to see the Chase Daniel era?
I don't think so. I think he's got 2 full weeks. They were saying Trubisky probably could have played if the Thanksgiving Day game was actually on Sunday and not Thursday night. So I think Trubisky will be out there. I imagine that's the case. But at this point, he's not practicing. That has to make you a little bit nervous. If he's out there, he's become a very viable QB1. He's got like 28 or more, and I think 5 of his last 6 or 7. So the guy's been balling out. He's a perfect fit for Nagy's system. Loves chucking it deep. Everybody in that offense benefits from his presence out there. So hopefully he is out there. We don't want to see another week of Chase Daniels. He did okay. He was serviceable. He moved the ball okay against the Lions. But against the Giants, it would be a great matchup for Trubisky. I think he'd be in most lineups in that, and I expect him back. So we'll see. Obviously moderate. The fact that he didn't get any throws in does have me a little bit more skeptical than I would have been entering the week.
Panthers wide receivers Devin Funchess, due to a back injury, remained sidelined at Wednesday's practice. Curtis Samuel, nursing a hamstring, did join him on the sidelines.
Yeah, and so DJ Moore has got to be shooting up rankings for Week 13. He already should have been high with back-to-back blow-up weeks, and now facing Tampa Bay, giving up over 30 points a game with one of the worst secondaries I think this league has ever seen. DJ Moore could be the clear-cut target hog for this offense. And Samuel was one of my favorite kind of stash waiver wire. We're going to talk about Hail Marys later. He was the guy I had just penned in as my lock for a Hail Mary. Had 18 points against the Bucks the last time he was out there. Has 6 touchdowns in 8 games played. So he's been a huge play threat. I'd love to see him get some practices in and get out there, because he would be a great option to use if he does indeed get there. It seems like Funchess, now 3 straight games he's sidelined. I don't think he's going to be out there. My guess, if I'm predicting the future, DJ Moore is still going to be that clear-cut number 1 guy. Samuel plays and gives you a useful day. Both guys should probably be in lineups this week 13, and Moore you have to have in at this point. Just a lock for a big game against the Bucks.
Kerryon Johnson remains sidelined for Wednesday's practice. He's got a knee issue. This is a guy that, I even wrote a rare stock watch about this guy a few weeks ago about how it was time. This is the Kerryon Johnson workhorse era for the Lions. I mean, there have been a bunch of speed bumps along the way here.
I know, and it seems like he's due to miss another game, which makes LeGarrette Blount, who was only 13% owned entering the week, that number has gone up to almost 40%. After waiver wires have just cleared. He's fresh off of 19 carry, 88-yard, 2 TD day, and looked like that Blunt of old with the Patriots where he just rumbled. And that was against the Bears, the stingiest run defense in the league. So the matchup on paper isn't great against the Rams. If they get up big early, he's going to get game flowed out. But he has definitely a shot at an early game TD against this team. The way he rumbled last week, he's a guy that needs those carries to get rolling and wear down the defense. And if they can somehow keep it close, which I don't expect, Blunt would have a big day. But I just think you're looking at a Hail Mary TD throw if you go with Blunt. Theo Riddick, definitely the preferred play in my opinion, because I expect the Lions to get down big, playing catch-up mode with Riddick, dink, dink, dink. That's the more likely game flow in my opinion with Kerryon Johnson sidelined.
All right, let's hit a couple rapid fires, then we're going to move on to higher, lower, and Hail Marys. Tre'Quan Smith, due to a foot injury, was removed from the Week 13 injury report. He will play against the Cowboys on Thursday night, so out of the woods for Tre'Quan Smith.
Absolutely. The Cowboys have been fairly stingy against wide receivers and just in general on defense, one of the better defenses in the league. And Smith has really only blown up twice. Both those games came at the Superdome, but he's also playing on turf here. It's also that dome-like stadium, so maybe that's what he needs to have, that true speed burning down the field. And remember, the last time he was out there, 13 targets from Drew Brees, 10 catches, just a monster effort. A lot of those trust, climbing the ladder, making the contested catch style throws, which told you he might have turned the page with Drew Brees and really gotten on the same trust level. And that's huge, obviously, when you got a quarterback of Brees' caliber. So if Smith's out there, I think he's got to be in most lineups, even with a tougher matchup, even on the road for Brees. I would be definitely looking to start Tre'Quan Smith now that he's fully healthy.
Evan Ingram with a hamstring, not practicing Wednesday. He's been hurt a bunch this year, huh?
Yeah, useless. What a piece of shit. Bust of the year. We were hauling on him, and he just kind of sucked a big dick. So just move on that.
All right, rare defensive mention. Jalen Ramsey, he of the talking so much shit all year to everybody due to a knee injury, did not practice Wednesday also. Do we care about this? I mean, they're playing against the Colts. I mean, Colts are banged up. Ramsey not in might help negate some of that.
Absolutely, and Andrew Luck on that streak right now, 3+ TDs going for the Tom Brady record here. I think they keep chasing that, and they at least throw another 3 TDs, which is only more likely with Jalen Ramsey out there. Definitely helps T.Y. Hilton if he's fully ready to go, which I do expect. The top corner of a defense that's already crumbling being removed just means more and more upside for the Colts offense this week. Would love to have those pieces for sure.